welcome to Eastenders Weekly, your one and only weekly podcast all about EastEnders. This week we are discussing episodes which were broadcast on the 18th to the 22nd of June, which were broadcast a bit out of order this week because of the football.
Yes, they put 2 episodes on Monday, and then there was a big long gap, which we suggested on a couple of occasions that you could fill by listening to our podcast.
Yes,
and then
which you did. We hope.
Which, yes, we hope you guys did. Well, you wouldn't be listening now, I guess. And then there was Thursday and Friday episode. So
late night.
Late night enders.
It's like Hollyoaks when they do late night. X-rated.
Not so
saucy. No. So had a lot of things going on this week. It's quite busy actually, wasn't it? A lot of things going on.
Yeah, but there was quite a few. Instead of normally when there's a few storylines hovering around, there's lots of little bits and pieces here and there, and you kind of find bits and pieces to talk about from each one. But there's been almost 2 quite big storylines and a couple of little bitty pieces. So, yeah.
So I wanted to start to talk this week about Mick and Stuart.
Yes, well, we start the week as the beginning of every episode last week, and that's a moody Mick looking out the window.
I know.
He's always grumpy.
Every episode opens with him like looking somewhere.
Yeah, looking
like
to
looking
one
at a
side.
window or looking at the Vic,
looking at a glass.
Yeah, he's been getting lots of Duff Duffs as well. Danny Dyer. So we open up on a Sunday,
Father's Day,
and it's quite rare for us to see a Sunday on EastEnders.
But they forget that it's a Sunday because Mick says he's going to the bank at one point.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know about anyone else, but I can't think of any banks.
He's a bad liar, isn't he?
He's not a great liar, and it takes Linda a bit of mental psychology to work out when he's a bad liar by the end of the week. But at the beginning of the week, she's still a bit naive, a bit green round the gills, and so Mick, still thinking about what Stuart had, him and Stuart had talked about and been doing last week. Wants to kind of just wash himself off the kind of dirty feeling that he feels that Stuart's given him.
Yeah,
and so
he meets him in the cafe.
Well, he meets him in the cafe, but he's meant to be going. He suggests going on a trip to the cinema with Ollie and
Linda.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Shirley comes in and shows Mick the newspaper about the pedo sting. The pedo sting.
She's all for it.
Yeah. Well, she's happy with it. Linda and Shirley both discuss the article in front of Mick, and the whole time Mick is, brewing and looking more and more moody as the camera comes closer to him. And and he says, he feels it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And Shirley says whoever does these stings, whoever does these stings doesn't go far enough in her mind. And she also says that high fat content isn't as much of a danger for poor little Ollie as a man coming to steal him away.
Stuart's getting it wrong. He should be after Shirley, not Mick, to help.
Yeah. Shirley would be
right
good. She'd lace her boots up. She'd put on her leather jacket. And she needs something to do.
She said if she caught them, she'd wear their doodads for earrings.
Yes, she would, and I could imagine that happening.
Which I also noted was a line that her character in Bad Girls said.
Yes.
The exact same line.
From a few years back.
When she was in Bad Girls. So was that a little hint from the writers from her past?
But
little Easter egg.
A lot of writers from EastEnders have come from Bad Girls, haven't they?
And the actors.
And
like
the
all
actors.
of the Carters are
because,
from Bad Girls.
So is Tina. Tina's from Bad Girls.
Yeah, and Linda.
And yeah.
Well.
The whole Carter family.
Danny Dyer could have been a policeman, I think. A police officer. Prison officer.
No. He wouldn't have been a police officer.
A prison officer, sorry.
I reckon he would have been in prison. Well, he would have been in prison if it hadn't been for Stuart, as we continue to learn. So yeah, Mick meets Stuart at the cafe.
There's lots of meetings in the cafe with Stuart this week. Like 5 or 4 meetings.
McGluskey's.
Yeah.
The place
He's
to
always
go.
eating out. So he goes to see Stuart in the cafe to discuss what happened.
Oh, sorry, this is at the Bridge Street Cafe first, isn't it?
Is it the Bridge Street?
Yes.
There's so many cafes he's gone to. He's gone to cafes about 5 times. Gone to get his nuggets about 3 times. Now he's in another. So yeah, this is the secret cafe, isn't it? The first one.
No, the first one is at
it's cafes.
Bridge Street.
Oh, okay.
Bridge Street is cafes,
right?
Yeah. And then there's the second cafe. He never goes to the second cafe.
Unless
he goes. Secret. Well, he doesn't this week. They go at all.
No.
He goes to, as I say, McCluskey's. It's really difficult to say that word. Yeah, it's meant to be McCluskey's. Oh, it's really anyway.
Kebab house.
The kebab house. And everyone's praising Stuart. Without anyone knowing it's Stuart that was the one who did the sting. Mick asked Kathy, what does she think? Shows her the article. What does she think? And she said, I'd give him a hero's welcome. I'd give him a tea on the house. And
A free one.
Stuart looks up and says, "What would you give me?" And Kathy's like, "A clip round the ear." And off she goes. She's had her line of the week.
If only she knew the truth.
And Mick's intrigued and wants to know what the setup is, and so kind of pushes Stuart to give him what actually goes on, what's happened.
Did the old Bill back you up?
Yeah, well, it's murky. It's murky. It's a grey area.
Yeah. So they have their little chat, and
Stuart continues to string Mick along, and encourages him to see more, even though Mick then says, "Well, no, I'm meant to be going to the cinema with Elle and Ollie." And Stuart's like, "Well, if you don't want to know, then I don't care." Mick's very now the Mick feels like he doesn't yet owe anything to Stuart, but he's almost like, because he's a friend and he helped him out of a bit of a funk, and he first of all accused him of something that he wasn't. He thinks like he owes him something a little bit now, and Stuart's already playing on that. So that little mistake that Mick had made, Stuart's playing on now and using against him.
Yeah, because they a bit later on they're going to his. It's like Stuart's got a car, apparently.
I mean, yeah, that's he says that it's the safest place to leave.
There's like loads of paperwork in there about all
files.
the people he's arrested or got arrested because of him.
Yeah, his like it's like a little scrapbook of people,
like
that
all
he's
in the
got
back
prison.
seat, just everywhere.
Yeah, each of them has a story. I mean, Stuart, every time anything happens, Stuart has a story. He diverts the conversation to a story. He's very good at like changing the subject, so it's not the subject matter the person wants to talk to him about. It's what Stuart wants you to be influenced by. And yeah, again, he pushes and prods Mick to learn about what he does.
And sort of finds out why Stuart does it, really, because he reveals a bit something that happened to him when he was locked up because of Mick when they were younger. Yeah,
well, Mick accuses him of playing games, and Stuart's like, "Well, if you lived my life, you would know." And Mick's like, "Oh, don't start that again. Yeah, I know I got you into the detention centre." And Stuart then continues to reveal that actually he was abused himself when he was at the young offender centre.
Yeah, by a prison officer, wasn't it?
It was, yes, by a prison officer who basically was his friend, because Stuart didn't work out too well to begin with when he first went to this juvenile detention centre. I keep saying detention centre. And this prison officer kind of took him under his wing and gave him sweets and comfort.
Yeah, because he thought he might get a bit of protection from him in juvie, didn't he, when he was younger? Yeah,
well, if someone paid him attention and someone was being nice to him whilst the whole time he was locked up, no one there was doing that for him. Stuart kind of expands on the story that he was abused quite heavily by this guy and nothing really became of it. And so now with this knowledge, this little nugget under Mick's hat, or passed on to Mick, he is now feeling super guilty. Like you can tell he's completely upset.
He sort of thinks, well, that could have been me if I went down for what it was, whatever this thing is that we don't know about yet. Yeah. Do you think it's quite interesting that they're portraying Stuart as like the next villain on EastEnders, aren't they? But they've also now revealed that he was sexually abused when he was younger. That's quite a different, because normally if someone's sexually abused, they're not normally then the villain. Quite a different take on it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a path that the character takes. So obviously Stuart's taken a much darker and narrower path towards his own self-destruction, but the way he gets himself out of that black hole is that he feels that he's doing some kind of justice by
helping out these other
girls. Basically helping others so others don't have the same abuse as what he's claimed. I mean,
he's almost using that as a way so he doesn't have to think what happened to him. He's now deflecting what happened to him onto his work,
quick to distract. Yeah, he's quick to distract and change subject quite quickly. I mean, another perspective is something I was going to maybe mention a bit later on, but he already starts when he's talking about the story. Mick asks him what the prison officer's name is, and again Mick and Stuart quickly changes direction and starts talking about a completely different story. Oh, you need to go home, you need to watch the film with Ollie, and again every time Mick later on in the story says, right, we need to find this prison officer, I'll help you, but we need to find this prison officer. He diverts the conversation.
Yeah, he does that a lot, doesn't he?
So again, Oh, sorry, no.
I was just going to say, like a few weeks ago when they met him in the pub and they were talking about how he broke up with his girlfriend, he diverted that question to, let's go play pool or let's go drinking. So
But
it's something he does quite a lot, isn't it?
But is he diverting the conversation because he's embarrassed or upset about it? Because he was the one who brought it up initially. Again, is it a form of entrapment? Is the story slightly fabricated? Is this?
Oh, you don't think it's completely
I don't
true?
think it's completely true. I think it's something that Stuart has made up in order to get Mick's attention. Because throughout this story, as we discuss it, each time Stuart is doing something, it's all for the benefit of getting Mick's attention. So on this occasion, he's now opened up to a story where he was abused. You know, what other way to say, like, this is why I do this? Because maybe Stuart has no reason to do it at all other than it gets him off. But this is why I do it. And
I don't know. I just thought that was part of his character development, is how he always puts up this front of a happy, cheeky chap when actually he's not actually realising what's really going on. Because a bit later he talks about his dad and how his dad used to leave him in a pram for hours.
Yes, and also about his pet dogs as well. He talks about those as well.
So that's another thing that made me think, he's obviously, him and Halfway have been sort of left or not really cared for. But
I mean, Halfway got out of it though. Halfway kind of kept his nose clean, joined the army.
And but Halfway's very skittish. He's like the polar opposite to Stuart, isn't it? He's like,
but he's a
like
very
childlike,
innocent,
which makes me wonder what happened in their past. I think you'll find out a lot more about his mum and dad and what they may have done to them as children.
Well, yes. Stuart, I just think that you know, if you're looking for a character, obviously they're expanding Stuart now, and if you're looking for a character trait, I think he's not really been proven to have a great track record with lying. Because again, later on in the episode, maybe we're getting
let's carry on with what's been going on and then talk a bit more of the theories. So we sort of, when Mick finds that out, he sort of calls Stuart at home when he's looking broody again for his next Duff Duff and says, "I'm in. I want to help you.
Yes.
If I help you, then we can get the policeman after. Deal?"
Yeah, we'll get the prison officer afterwards. And hangs up without any kind of bye then, see ya, bye. Hangs up. Yeah. So the next day has passed, has come to Walford, and
hot yoga is on the cards.
A bit of couples yoga with Leaf is booked because Mick has stood Linda up once already, and Linda won't tolerate it a second time, and Mick agrees. Stuart arrives and turns up as they're talking about it, kind of again making a joke. "Oh, hello, you know, what you guys up to? Oh, bit of yoga, ha ha ha." And Mick and Stuart go off and have breakfast again at Kathy's.
I know.
at the Bridge Street Cafe. Yes,
more chat in the cafe, and that's when Mick's like, "I want to help you, but if I do help you, you have to agree that after that we'll go get this copper."
And again, then Stuart diverts the conversation. But we must remember that Mick has a friend, a trump card in his pocket of how he can find this copper. A mate.
My mate Jack. He'll have a word with someone and we'll find him.
He can't punch his way out of a wet paper bag, but he'll find your pedo copper.
God. So I would never ask Jack for help. Well, especially after last week.
Later on, we'll be discussing how Jack does help someone in his all-white gear. So, again, Stuart diverts the conversation and says, "I don't need help. Girls like her do," and shows them a picture of a girl that he's next trap. Another guy.
Another trap in Walford.
Mick did mention that he doesn't like that it keeps happening in his pond.
Yeah. Doing it on purpose, isn't he?
Of course. And Stuart's, again, just turning the screws slightly to convince Mick to help him do the job. He normally has a friend called Tommy who does the job for him, but unfortunately...
he gets like a phone call.
Yeah.
Which is really fake.
Yeah. But then...
don't worry.
Yeah, looks at Mick. It's fine.
It's a two-man job, but it's okay.
It's all right.
So yeah, if we fast forward then to we're now in the kebab house, McClucky's, whatever it's called.
Yes.
And Mick sort of says, "Okay, I'll back you up to help you do this." And Stuart sort of turns around and says, "Oh no, you're doing it. You're the one who's doing this. You're getting this guy." And he sort of tells the story of who this man is.
Gives him the background story. Yeah. Mick calls him a dirty liberty, which I liked. Another Mickism.
Yeah. And sort of Mick says, "Oh, well, he doesn't really want to do it, but he does do it, and he's not really sure what he's doing, and he starts confronting this man. And then in walks Linda. Well, Hurricane Linda.
Mick gets a bit angry, doesn't he? He gets a bit jitty and
well, Mick's feeling very angry. He's still feeling guilty of a Shaquille, isn't he? So he's kind of using this as way to make himself feel better, and he gets very
which again Stuart knows. See, this is information you don't give Stuart information.
Yes, little does Mick know, because he gives him some information later.
Yes.
So Linda comes in and has quite a funny scene. Linda's quite good this week. She's back to old Linda. Feisty.
Yeah, feisty
the
Linda.
The matriarch of the Vic that we need.
A little bit under the thumb, old Mick, but not enough to be weak himself.
So Mick's halfway through catching a predator.
Yes.
And then she comes in and sort of says all this sort of quite embarrassing stuff. You don't want your wife yelling that to you in public while you're just about to entrap a paedophile.
Yes.
And she says things like, don't bother coming back. Yeah. Don't sleep in my bed.
Yeah. You're sleeping on the sofa tonight, or in the bar, apparently. And Stuart and the Dirty Liberty are both laughing at him, and we learn that actually it was a setup. That
it was a bit of a test.
It was a test for Mick to see if he could do it, and it was Tommy all along. And they're laughing, and Tommy says, "Oh, you missed your couple's yoga," and they're both laughing, and Mick kind of feeling a little bit humiliated, a little bit like he's been made fun of for the last time. Kind of runs out the McCluckies. I can't say it.
Kebab.
The kebab.
Chicken land. Yeah. So there's a bit of a. This is when Stuart then goes. He has a bit of a. Every now and then he turns a bit psychopathic, and this is when he does now, and he wants a fight. Yeah,
he's trying to get. Earlier in the episode, earlier in the episode, he said that there's a darkness inside of him that he needs to release, and in order to release it,
inside of Mick.
No, Stuart.
Right.
In order to release it, he kind of does this entrapment, and the whole point up until now is that we learn that Stuart is trying to get this same darkness out of Mick. And he succeeds because he winds him up. He says things like he was ashamed of him. You ran away like a girl. You're a disgrace. You're better off calling the missus to do this job.
Got a point.
And it's true. And Stuart winds him up and up and up and up and up. And eventually Mick loses his temper and smacks Stuart round the mouth. And this really gets Stuart off. Like Stuart
he wants him to, doesn't he? He wants him to hurt him more.
Yeah, he does.
Beat him up more.
He says, this is it. This is the darkness I want. This is what I want to see from you. So he wants the old Mick, the Mick where he remembers when they were teenagers and kids. You know, the stories Stuart used to talk about when they used to go to the bars, and Mick used to get in rough and tumble fights. And they do. They get themselves into the episode ends with Mick basically with a little bit of malice on his face, storming forward towards Stuart, and
yes.
The rest is
and then cut to the next morning. He's asleep in the Vic.
Well, he's asleep in the Vic.
Bruises all over his face.
Linda's woken up a little bit puzzled. There's no man in my bed. You know, she implicitly told him not to. Halfway comes down the stairs to start getting the pub set up.
Good old halfway.
And he
always
sees
count on him.
Yeah, and he sees him and he says, what does the other geezer look like? And he says, you can ask him, it's your brother. And halfway's a little bit like, uh-oh, hang on, something's going on again.
So once Linda sort of wakes up, Mick tails it, doesn't he? He sort of says to halfway, tell her a lie, say I've gone somewhere, I don't want to see her.
Yes.
Runs out. Big Mo helps.
Big Mo helps out. She can tell if someone's in trouble.
Yeah, she knows.
She knows.
Yeah, although sadly, halfway's not the best liar in the world, is he? Bless him.
No, Linda eventually, without any kind of push.
He didn't have that training in the army
of interrogation
training, thank God.
Well, he was only a chef.
Sorry,
that's an awful thing to say, only a chef, but you know what I mean.
He makes his Scotch eggs.
He makes his delicious Scotch eggs.
Poor halfway. Whitney's not around. I don't know where she is. They haven't really
she was with the Slaters earlier this
but
week.
She's not with halfway at all, so that's odd. But yeah, so Linda gets out of halfway that it was Stuart.
Yeah.
So where do they meet?
Kathy's.
Yeah. Another fry up for Stuart. He's getting loads of these ones, isn't he?
Kathy might as well just be renamed in the credits this week extra, because to be honest with you, all she did was come into shop with 2 mugs of tea, pop them down on the table and be like, just kind of give a knowing look and then walk away again.
So Linda and Stuart have a little chat in the cafe, and Stuart seems to be quite scared of Linda.
Yeah.
Quite intimidated.
Yeah. He even says so. He even tells her that. But again, is he saying it to make Linda feel like what she's doing is getting through to him?
You just don't know where you stand with Stuart.
No.
He's so nutty.
Yeah.
He's all over the place.
Linda tells Stuart to reveal everything, whilst at the same time at the pub, Mick is cleaning himself up and
I don't know how he can clean him. Like, you can't clean wounds off you. Like, he's scrubbing his hands.
well, he's disinfecting. Well, I suppose that's something
really
he would have done
odd.
when he came
Yeah.
home, I guess,
Weird.
rather than just. But perhaps he was so tired. Anyway, so Shirley talks to Mick and says that he's beginning to make a habit of getting bashed since Stuart's arrived, and she quite wise words from Shirley that you didn't have a lot to lose back then, but now you do. And Mick seemed to not really take any of that in, to be perfectly honest with you, because when Linda had come back and she said, right, I know everything. I want you to be honest with me. I know everything. Stuart's told me everything, and he thinks it's obviously to do with the whole paedophile gang, but actually Stuart has told him that they went to a pub, his ex was there with her new boyfriend, and it all started. And Linda's like, he's not stupid. Linda can see through him. She's like, he's not stupid. He knew that he'll be there. He wanted you to be his backup. He wanted you to fight for him. And Linda has kind of worked out the puzzle of Stuart, but not enough that she's got it in 100% right.
But she sort of gives Mick an ultimatum again. She said this a few times, but she says, I don't want you to see him again.
Yes.
Ever.
Yes.
She said this twice already.
She's done this a couple of times before.
So this is it.
But Stuart has won Linda over. Because if you think back a couple of weeks, it was Linda that brought Stuart back to talk to me.
I know.
So really, this all stems to a little mistake by Linda again.
So they meet in E20.
Yeah.
And they have a little chat. And Mick...
E20, we must say, looked quite busy. Looked like...
For E20.
Yeah, looked quite busy.
And Mick, for some reason, gives him the information that him and Whitney had a thing.
Yes.
To say that, so me and Linda aren't that strong, so we need to be strong together. Now, that's a big mistake, telling him about Whitney.
I mean, it's common knowledge that it happened. Linda does know, because it got revealed.
I know, but he's obviously going to use this.
Well, of course he will. He'll use it against...
Either against his brother or against...
What, against Halfway?
Who knows?
Oh, of
He's
course.
a bit nutty, isn't he?
Does Halfway know that...
I can't remember. Possibly.
I don't think he does, because he only came into...
He would he?
No. So there we go. So he's going to drop it. He's going to drop it because he's already, again, on Friday's episode, he starts playing Mick and Halfway against each other, because after they have the talk and Mick says, I don't really want to see you anymore, and Stuart's like, all right, and take care.
We'll see.
That's not going to happen. Linda goes off. We don't know where Linda goes.
She goes to visit her mum with Ollie. That's where she's gone.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how her mum's getting on.
She's fine.
Yeah.
She ain't got all these problems, has she? So, so they're sort of setting up another sting in Walford, and Stuart is kind of wanting Halfway to do it, but as a double bluff, because he knows that Mick doesn't want Halfway to get involved, so Mick will then get involved.
Yeah, so it's a ruse to get Mick, because he knows what Mick is like, and he won't get someone else in trouble because...
Yeah, so poor Halfway is quite happy that his brother's finally asked him, and he feels like he's finally involved with his brother.
Yeah, he seems quite flattered that he's been asked, and he even says, like, I've been waiting a long time for to be asked to help. So after a bit of being told by Mick, don't bother doing it, Halfway's a bit angry at Mick for this, because he says that I was in the army, I fought for my country.
I got the Vic back for you.
I got the Vic back for you. I shot you. Yeah, by stealing a ring. I shot you. Yeah. I think I'm capable of going to a guy and just saying, you've been a bit naughty, haven't you? Whilst it's being filmed for the police. But Mick still adamant that he can't do it. So when Halfway gets down to the van to go away with Stuart, Mick sees it out the window. Yeah. Mick beeps his horn as well to get Halfway to come out. So it's obvious that he's again trying to get his attention. And while they're sat in the van, Stuart looks up to Halfway, and Halfway's like, come on, let's go. And he's like, no, let's just wait a minute.
Yeah.
So
he knows exactly what's going on.
He knows exactly what he's
Mick
doing.
Gets in. So they then go to like the meeting place. The man's there in a business suit. They're always in business suits, aren't they, these men?
Well, that's the clothing of choice, I guess. I don't know.
And Halfway sort of on watch, and then it all goes a bit wrong. And
it goes very awry. Yeah. So Halfway's on watch, says he's here. Then Stuart gives Halfway the lowdown and says, right, you can do it. Mick's angry because he says, why are you always palming off to everyone else? Why you're meant to be this professional? You're the one who says we ruin these stings. Why aren't you doing them? Again, is it an excuse for Stuart to basically just be angry at someone? Is it not actually fulfilling his need to have a go and yell at people and punch them.
And halfway gets upset because he then finds out Mick's done it before.
Yes. So halfway gets
So
out
you're
the car.
all against it, and now, yeah.
Yeah, Mick gets out
They
the
all
car.
get out the car.
Well, Mick gets out the car and follows halfway. Mick halfway's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? The guy sees that something's going on.
Yeah.
Then Stuart gets out the car, and then they all just start running in all different directions.
Yeah, he runs off.
So the poor guy, we don't really learn. Again, did Stuart make this up? Because we don't really learn whether
No,
the guy...
it's real because Stuart's so upset that they messed it up because it takes months
But
to plan.
is Stuart upset? This is what I mean. Every time Stuart, you don't know Stuart. He could be lying this whole time.
Well, Mick and halfway corner him in the park.
Yeah.
So
Again,
where
Mick,
will he hide? A play park.
But,
Odd choice.
Naughty spot.
And Mick gets really angry again.
Mick really gets angry, doesn't he? He loses his temper.
And then halfway sort of says, "Oh, just let him go."
Well, halfway says, "I've not seen you like that, Mick.
Yeah.
This is a side of you I've not seen." Because even when Aidan was about, he never lost his temper with Aidan. He kept his cool. That's going way, way back. But yeah, so halfway and Mick are back in the lounge. Halfway's looking a bit above the Vic, I should say. Halfway's looking a bit worried because now we know Stuart's coming and he knows what Stuart's like when he's upset about something. And Stuart basically says to them, "You better sort out your story,
Yeah,
get
he
it
wants
straight,
to know
because I want to
who
know
let him go."
who let the dog out." So we'll have
And then
to
Mick
wait.
just looks to the side and he gets another Duff Duff for the week.
Yes, and lots of Duff Duffs for Mick.
So we've got them all. So that's where we've left it. So is Mick going to cover halfway's back and say he let him go, or is he going to let Stuart know it was halfway?
I mean, I don't think halfway would want Mick to do that either. I think halfway has the dignity that he doesn't like Mick covering for him. The fact that, Mick went out in the first place because he didn't think that halfway could be trusted to do it on his own with Stuart, I think upset halfway a little bit.
Well, only time will tell.
Yeah.
He needs Whitney back.
Well, Whitney was there the
Whitney,
whole time.
Lyndon and Shirley need to sort this all out. They'll sort it all out.
He was meant to be having a
problem.
lads' night playing on the PlayStation, wasn't he? But that
Yeah.
never happened.
That made me laugh when he said, "Oh, Linda's gone, so we can do what we want." And halfway got like half a pint and started drinking in the middle of the day.
A bowl of cereal.
And then Mick was like, "No, what I meant is you can just have a pony with the door open." And it's like, that's funny. So a few people on Twitter have been noticing that there's been a lot of Mick recently. Someone said, "Please stop your obsession with Mick Carter / Danny Dyer. He's very overused. I'm absolutely fed up of him." Someone said, "I think we should rename the Duff Duff to the Mick Mick." Oh my God, how many more Stuart Mick cliffhangers do we need to put up with? Is Stuart setting Mick up so he gets sent to prison as revenge for what he went through for him, or am I way off?
No, I think you're right on target. Who was that?
That was Georgie.
Well done, Georgie.
And someone said, how nasty can Linda be to tell halfway to water plastic plants?
But-
Or Mick to tell him he can't help Stuart. I'm looking forward to Stuart and halfway causing havoc.
Another thing which we haven't talked about that was brought up is that Mick on Thursday's episode, when he's talking about the fight, said that he loves Stuart, but one day he'll end up killing him. So is that a foreshadow of what could potentially happen?
Well, we thought when Mick said something similar about Aidan, that was foreshadowing who killed Aidan, and nothing happened. So
I don't think, true. But I don't think it would be a who killed Stuart storyline.
No, I know.
I think there's only one possibility. But
I don't think they'll turn Mick into a killer.
I think he could become almost killer though. We'll see. But I think that's it was interesting that line was there, and it was almost in isolation as well. It almost came out of the blue, so it's interesting. That
Maybe Stuart would kill a Carter. Who killed a Carter?
Who killed a Carter?
Tina.
I mean,
she's next on the list to go.
I mean, I do think it's going to end in a real bloody showdown between them two.
It depends
Stuart
what they
and
have
Mick.
in mind for Stuart's future. Whether they want to try and redeem him and make him a full-time
Well, make him learn
character.
from his mistake, come back 6 months later and make him a bit
Reformed.
better. Reformed, yeah.
Maybe. Who knows? So next up, we have a lovely Ted storyline.
Oh, Ted's back.
I
Yes.
don't mind Ted. When he does nice little scenes, he's quite
Oh
sweet,
no, I'm sorry if that sounded a little bit exasperated, but it's nice to give Ted something to do. Ted seems to intertwine with the tailors, doesn't he? So it's kind of, he gets propped up quite nicely.
So we had the story back from a few weeks ago when Mitch stole Patrick's money that he left for Ted. That was brought back up because they were having a drink and wanted to gamble.
Well, they're playing a game and Patrick wants to put money on the game and Ted's like, no, I don't have any. You're a pensioner. I can't afford to do that.
Make
Anyway,
it £5 instead of £10.
Yeah, and Patrick's like, no, I won't bother, which is fair enough. And he brings his own sandwich to the pub as well, and his own drink, and he says he'll share the drink with Patrick, but not his sandwich because he's only got one of them. Again, don't blame him for that. I wouldn't share my sandwich with you, to be perfectly honest with you.
Right.
It's my sandwich.
Ain't sharing a sandwich.
No, never.
Lucky he didn't bring the flask of Joyce with him.
Well, he did.
Oh, did
That's
he?
Patrick.
So
So
it's lucky Patrick didn't ask for a cup of tea.
well, just hang on. Did you watch the episode, Mister? So Ted goes off to the toilet, and Patrick's a bit, put out by the fact that he's a bit tight around the.
Seeing as he gave him nearly 3k.
I mean, I did think his shoes were squeaking. Was
it
it?
was
his
funny.
shoes squeaking? Or was it his tight ass? From the money he wasn't spending.
Or did he sprinkle a bit of Joyce into his shoes?
Oh, mate. Well, no, because that would make it. That would be like an odor eater.
Yeah.
Make the squeak go down. So Patrick's about to go into his. He goes into his bag and takes his thermos out, to thinking that the drink's in there, and Ted's like, "Stop! That's not the thermos. That's Joyce." So Joyce has been transferred from the urn into this quite small
I know.
thermos.
Have you ever spread someone's ashes before?
No.
Because there's quite surprising how much is in there.
Well,
So I don't know where the rest of her is. That's just her head, is it? Do you think?
it could be.
Her head and her sewing thing.
Yeah, her hands. Her hands were her magic part.
But yeah, because when I spread ashes before, it's like I forgot to say, it doesn't end. You just keep going. So yeah, not much of Joyce left.
Maybe he used it like a shaken vac. Put it on the rug and then vacuumed it up again.
Maybe.
It's good
Maybe
when-
his daughter took a bit.
Oh yeah. Well, no, that's only fair. So Ted basically says he likes having Joyce around, and that he
Yes.
doesn't know what to do with her.
Just like when she was alive.
It's like, exactly.
So this is when Patrick sort of says, why are you so tight? You should have paid for the funeral with the money I gave you.
Yeah, because he says he couldn't afford a funeral.
Because it was the bet that Bernie said on a horse.
Yes. I forget what the horse was called. No, patented.
Yes.
Patented. And Patrick and Ted then put two and two together, and they realise
The Taylors. And they both look at each other.
Yeah,
the Taylors.
like some kind of pantomime.
Well,
Or
why
something.
wasn't that a Duff Duff instead of Mick, eh?
It's worthy of a Duff Duff, I
Yeah.
tell you. Yeah, so Ted goes storming around the Taylors,
Mm-hmm.
says to him, he knows that they took his money. Squeaky shoes again.
I
I knew he took your money. I don't want to talk to you again.
It's really weird. Did they not hear that? Because it's the first thing I heard, like a duck. Like,
It'd be even worse if they actually added that sound.
yeah.
Oh.
Bizarre.
Yeah, he says you and me are done. You and me are done. Talking me being generally
Yes,
the whole Taylors.
between the Taylors. Because he talks to
Yeah.
Bernie and Keegan.
Yes. Bernie tells Karen after the interview, which we'll talk about a bit later,
Mm-hmm.
about Ted, because Bernie can't concentrate.
But what about Mr. Murray? She always says that.
Mr. Murray.
Mr. Murray, he's so upset.
Mr. Murray.
Mr. Murray.
Mr. Murray.
She always says that, Bernie. It's so
I know.
funny.
She's such a sweet character. I love
know,
Bernie.
I love all of them.
And-
Everyone.
And they go into the pub, and Ted says, "No, it's definitely you. I can't think of any other explanation for it."
I don't want to see you ever
Yeah,
again.
in this communal area where the door was wide open.
Maybe it was Woody. Did anyone think about that?
Could have been Woody. I mean, if you think back when we first talked about the storyline, when the money was stolen, we suggested that he threw it through the window with a brick. So it was all.
Yeah, we said he couldn't do that because Ted was
fire-
having an episode
Yeah,
and he
that's
thought
right.
someone was shooting.
So yeah, bless him.
So no.
So Karen and Bernie
Sets up a
line up.
meeting.
Yeah, line up Keegan,
Greg.
not Graham, Chatham and
Chatham and
Riley. If you notice in the background, Bernie was with a notebook and pen playing detective.
She was.
Um,
Playing good cop
and
in the corner.
Yes, good cop, Karen's bad cop,
Mhm.
and they worked out it could never not have been Mitch. It was Mitch. It must have been Mitch because
yes.
Mitch was there at the time.
Because
and
Keegan
none of them
thought
stole him.
they were blaming him. That she was like, I don't know why you've got everyone else here. You always blame me.
I do feel sorry for Keegan. 'Cause
Yeah.
There's not a week that goes by when he's not accused of something. So Karen and Bernie go to the allotment to talk to Ted. They catch Ted talking to the thermos.
They do.
Detective Bernie strikes again and straight away says, "He must think that's Joyce." And Karen's like, "Yeah, what a nutter." So Karen tells
She'll
Bernie.
sort him out.
Yeah, Karen tells Bernie to go to school, which now I think is irrelevant because I think schools have now stopped.
Hello, now
for the
school
year.
stops. She's going to
She's
go.
now going to go to school. And Karen offers a fry-up, bacon, eggs, and a sandwich.
Whiskey.
What other fry-ups are there?
No.
So I suppose it's a Scottish breakfast, I guess, because it's got whiskey in it.
Yeah. And they have a really nice chat, and she sort of says it was Mitch.
Yes.
We'll try and pay you back however we can, but just don't tell Keegan that Mitch did it.
Yes, because he idolises his dad, and I've already made the mistake once of trying to say to him that Mitch is no good for him, and let's not.
No matter
bring
what
up
he's
that
like,
old.
he's still his dad.
Yeah, and let's not bring that wound back up. So they decide Ted's finally ready to lay Joyce to rest. Now, bearing in mind
very cruel.
Bearing in mind that Ted has continuously said that Joyce
hates that shed.
hates the allotment, hates the shed.
She shouldn't be in the shed. It's just too horrible. So where?
Just shakes them all over the fruit
On
and
top of
veg.
his cabbages.
Yeah.
Whatever they are.
I mean, Keegan spoke to the whole audience by saying, "Remind me never to eat fruit and veg again." I mean, you can imagine just crunching into like a lettuce leaf with this crunch. It's like, "Ooh, what's that?" Oh, it's Joyce. Okay, that's fine
You
then.
hear Joyce every time you crunch. Go, oh, those weird noises she used to make. So yeah, they spread her ashes, like 1/10 of her ashes.
Yes.
And he says a little speech saying how he misses her,
It's a
which
nice
was really
speech.
sweet.
Yeah.
So that's when you think, oh, Ted's very
Ted,
sweet guy.
Not too bad after all. And Keegan says, "Oh, well, did you ever find out whatever happened to the money?" And Karen looks at Ted, and Ted, on a man of his word, says, "Oh, Patrick, he's such a absent-minded fool. He left the money at the bookies."
Yeah.
And that's how it kind of got wrapped up. And they all kind of... I love it when Ted's guardian, like his angels are Karen and Bernie, and they always walk off arm in arm, striding off to their next adventure.
Yeah.
So
Very
Joyce
sweet.
has finally
Been laid to rest.
and there may not be other than maybe Ted looking up to the sky and talking to Joyce. I think that's the last we're going to hear from Joyce.
Bless them. So on Twitter, there was a few tweets.
I bet there were.
Those. Well, yeah, there was quite a few. So, a lovely final insult for Joyce, having her ashes spread in the allotment that she spent her last few years listening to Ted bang on about endlessly. Since Ted can't exactly go to Australia to visit his son with Joyce, the money should go back to Patrick anyway. It's not really Ted's money to get upset about, which is quite... got a point.
But Patrick has gifted it to him. So in the eyes of the law, that's...
Oh, really? They should give it to Bernie because she's the one who said the bet.
That's true. But she's too young to gamble.
My heart breaks for Ted. And his own children don't even bother with him. He's lucky to have the Taylors.
Yeah, he is lucky to have the Taylors. And the Taylors are lucky to have him.
They are. Very lucky.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Ted's story for the week. 3 episodes out of 4 he was in.
Yes,
he
wasn't in on Friday. He got pushed out by... by
Mo's farts took over.
Her curry
That's
sauce.
more important.
Oh,
so, shall we go off and have a little break? Have you got a I'm doing this now?
I have. Get ready for
Lovely.
this. Here we go.
Just do this now.
Yes, here's another look at our favourite characters from the soap and discover what exactly the actor is doing now. Now, for this week's edition, we are retrospectively looking at Whitney's brother, Ryan Malloy, played by the charming Neil Mcdermott.
Well, hey.
He's not
Fan
here.
favourite.
Fan favourite.
He's here in spirit.
He's here in ashes.
On my cabbages.
Buy lettuce down at the Sainsbury's. Ryan Malloy. Right, before Neil played... Sorry, I don't know why I did that. Before Neil played the character Ryan, he was first seen sweeping the square as Ben, a replacement market cleaner for Robbie Jackson, while he was on holiday in one episode on the 3rd of March 2003. There's a little bit of a tidbit for you fact fans out there.
Did you play a different character then?
Ben, the
That's
market
what Karen
sweeper.
did.
Yeah. 6 years before he was officially introduced. He came back transformed on the 28th of April 2009 as a mystery character, simply credited as Man. See, this is what they could do with Kathy. Woman. Later given his proper name, Ryan Malloy. When he first appeared, he's in the park and asks Whitney if she is all right. Not knowing who he is, she runs off, calling him a creep. But a couple of weeks later, he helps others escape from a fire in the Bridge Street Cafe started by Nick Cotton. Still a mystery to Whitney, her mother Deborah Dean arrives for a short time on the square and tells her that a man is after her and she has something belonging to him. When they return home, Ryan is waiting and reveals to Whitney that he is her half-brother and gave her mum, Deborah, a weapon that he used to kill someone, which he claimed was in self-defence. He demands the weapon back, but Whitney refuses and throws it into the canal. When trying to leave Walford, he spots Ronnie Mitchell, who offers him a trial at the Queen Vic, during which they kiss and have sex. I mean, Ronnie, she was loose.
Offered him a job just to...
I know, just to have sex with him.
Well, he's one of the most handsome men on the square, so...
Was.
There's
many a handsome man now.
Phil's back.
He's hot. Ronnie insisted that this was a one-off, and he decided not to pursue it any further and went to share a flat with Janine Butcher. Now, this is basically where it became the Janine and Ryan show. So Ryan starts indulging in petty crime when he steals a scratch card win from Chelsea Fox. Do you remember Chelsea?
Yeah. She's not really talked about anymore, is she? Denise has forgotten about her.
She was a bit of a meh character, wasn't she?
And her sister's on Holby City now, so...
Yes. She got her GCSE, not GCSE, she got her exams in
Diploma.
the end. A diploma. Even though she threatened to, not threatened, that's an awful thing to say. She said she was going to look after the baby with Denise, didn't she? Her mum. That's a crossover.
It is.
Could do that. Holby City, EastEnders.
Yeah.
Use 2 sets. They can knock down
save a lot of money.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
He threatens Ryan and he decides to give Chelsea her money back. That's Chelsea's father. Despite this, Janine and Ryan start a relationship with benefits. She reveals her plan to Ryan and to take over the Queen Vic with Archie Mitchell and then double cross him so the pub would once again be run by a butcher.
Yes.
Do you reckon Tiff would ever do that? Run the Queen Vic?
Oh, yeah.
When she's a bit older?
Yeah.
Hashtag...
Get the butchers in.
Hashtag
Should change
pub,
the name.
Pub
Hashtag
vibes.
Vic.
Yeah, hashtag Vic. She probably would actually. Call it the hashtag Vic. Meanwhile, the court case against Tony King starts. He had been sexually abusing Whitney from the age of 12 while he was dating her adopted mother, Bianca Jackson. Ryan sits through the whole hearing glaring at Tony, only to leave for a brief moment because he cannot hear the testimony by Whitney of the acts committed against her by Tony. At the end, he comes home and tells his sister that he will get out of prison when he's an old man, alluding to a long jail sentence. Now, on Christmas Day, 2009, it always happens on Christmas Day, Ryan finds Janine drunk at the car lot and she tells him Archie had been murdered. Ryan believes Janine had a hand in his murder and congratulates her for her acting skill. After Janine tells the police that Ian Beale was the culprit, Ryan becomes angry with her and leaves her. Janine is later arrested, but Ryan is now adamant that Janine had been set up. So he changes his mind quite quickly.
He does. As if Ian Beale murdered someone.
He was accused of his daughter's death.
I know, but... No.
Ian Beale.
He ain't a murderer.
He'll stick someone's head in a
If
deep
Phil
fat
won't
fryer.
murder anyone, nor would Ian.
Well, yes, that's a fair point. Both low on funds, Janine suggests a plan to take Roxy Mitchell's inheritance money from Archie, but Ryan cannot go through with it and says, I am in love with you, even though you're the most horrendous woman I have ever known. Janine, stunned by this, does not answer and Ryan leaves. However, before he's gone further than the tube station, she catches him and she tells him she loves him too. Janine and Ryan decide to marry, and despite Janine admitting that she almost had an affair, the ceremony goes on without a hitch. During the party at the Queen Vic, Stacey tells Pat Evans... Pat...
I'd have mentioned of Pat this week on EastEnders.
I mean, Pat came back as a ghost. Is there potential for Joyce?
Yes.
She'll come up from the cabbage patch.
She takes over the scarecrow.
Yeah.
She possesses the scarecrow.
Talks to Ted. She's like, all right, Ted. Joyce? Rubs his eyes in like a cartoon way. During the party, Stacey tells Pat Evans that Ryan is the father of her child Lily, but Pat convinces her otherwise. Minutes later, as fire starts in the Vic and Ryan rescues a trapped Stacey and Lily. At the hospital, when Ryan checks on them both, she finally tells him that Lily is his, but Ryan has no emotion and leaves to go on a honeymoon with Janine. Janine discovers Ryan's paternity to Lily upon their return and, frightened, calls social services for neglect by Stacey. Stacey discovers and attacks Janine twice. The second time meant that Lily had to be left with Ryan for care as they had both been arrested. This shifted Ryan's view on Lily and he decided he wanted to be her father. After discovering Lily's birth certificate had been changed to include Ryan, Janine becomes increasingly jealous. Ryan also gets a job with Phil Mitchell stealing cars, but eventually settles for a career as a barman at the refurbished Queen Vic. An affair starts with Stacey, which Pat discovers... Pat? Bloomin'...
Nosy.
No, I'm angry with her. Discovers that a desperate Janine discovers and tells a desperate Janine, who starts to drug Ryan with poison, keeping him housebound. Ryan escapes, but their relationship becomes toxic, and in one last-ditch attempt to keep him, Janine stabs herself and blames Stacey. But he is sick and tired of her games, and at the hospital pulls out her oxygen tube and leaves her struggling to breathe. I mean, that's...
I love Janine.
I know.
When Janine's there, you just know it's going to be chaotic and just over the top.
She's such a vicious character. Like nothing. She's got no redemption at all. Like
I love
she's
her.
done.
Yeah, everyone loves her though. She's like everyone's favourite.
I mean, then they use her well because they don't. haven't used her in a long time.
No, she has like a few years, doesn't she? She's like Nick Cotton used to be.
Yeah, she comes in. I mean, it was brilliant when she killed Barry Evans. That was amazing. Ryan starts working as a doorman at R&R. Whatever happened to R&R?
I refuse to comment.
And turns down Lauren's advances despite her best efforts. He starts drug dealing and is sacked by Roxy, but Phil, owing him a favour from his past exploits, reinstates him. Ryan gets in a fight with Rob Grayson when he looks for Whitney at Southend-on-Sea, having discovered that he'd been sexually exploiting his sister. They both fall into the sea and Ryan submerges, but Rob does not. Ryan goes on the run as he believes the police will think he killed him and waves with an emotional goodbye. In 2016, Ryan returns as part of Stacey's postpartum psychosis storyline and steals money from the Carter family. When Mick discovers and also finds out that he had killed Rob, which was way back when he had the weapon concealed by his mum, he convinces Ryan to turn himself into the police. Whitney agrees, and after an emotional goodbye, she escorts him to the station. Several months later, after being released from prison from lack of evidence, Ryan returns and he is now in a relationship with the prison officer. A legal relationship.
Yeah.
I bet Stuart would be jealous. Ryan offers for Whitney to live with him in Wakefield, but declines after Linda Carter disapproves with the idea. She used to be really motherly, didn't she, to all the kids? She's got, that's the thing. That's what she's missing. She's got Ollie.
She hasn't got her kids anymore.
But she hasn't got her kids anymore. And that was the thing about her, wasn't it? She kind of kept... And now she's got Mick, so she's keeping a close...
rein on him.
And he later calls Whitney and tells her that he's engaged. And we've not heard from him ever since. He's now back to his original form of Neil Mcdermott. But what is he doing now? Well, he's actually...
Play?
Not long after leaving the soap the first time, he had television credits with The Royal on ITV and Doctors, Casualty and Inspector George Gently on BBC One. I mean, again, Casualty, Holby City, EastEnders, it's writing itself. These crossovers.
They all go to there. Mick's daughter's on there now, on Casualty.
Or the one who had
the blonde
epilepsy.
one, yeah, I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
Oh, is she? What, as a main character?
She's joined it full time.
She? I mean, is it...
Danny Boy said congratulations to her on Twitter.
Danny Boy's very jealous, isn't he?
I know.
It's like the retirement home for EastEnders actors. After his leaving of the soap, the most recent time, he started a UK tour of Wind in the Willows, the musical playing the role throughout its run as Chief Weasel. It eventually stopped at the London Palladium, and despite disappointing ticket sales, it was filmed as they performed it on stage and shown for a limited run over Easter in cinemas, and later on the digital streaming service for theatrical performances, Broadway HD. He then continued treading the boards, performing George von Trapp with a tour of The Sound of Music earlier this year, starting in Dublin and continuing to Bromley, Birmingham, Glasgow and Manchester. Hope you enjoyed that Bromley impersonation there. He is also loaning his voice, this might interest you, his voice in a video game, Squadron 42, alongside Mark Hamill and Gary Oldman.
Oh,
so big guns there.
Yeah. Josh from Lauren's ex, Josh from Wilmot Brown, he's in a video game too.
Is he? Which one?
Need for Speed, I think.
Is he?
Yeah.
Who makes that? EA?
I don't know. And also that guy, remember that guy with the big eyebrows who was Ronnie's secret brother who was in it for like 2 months?
I loved him. He had he stayed in when Jack was refurbishing the flats. He kept having
was like
showers.
A builder, yeah.
Where he kept
he was naked as often as possible,
basically,
wasn't he?
yeah.
He's in a video game too, so they're all busy in video games.
I mean, they need actors now, don't they? They're so
Yeah.
real. They need actors to fill in the gaps. He, in Squadron 42, is playing Neil. Not playing Neil, that's him. He's playing Aldo Braga in a cinematic single-player adventure game set in the Star Citizen universe. And, for any computer game fans out there, it was one of IGN's one to watch for 2018.
Okay, so any Neil fans, they can actually play as him.
Yes. Not play
It's
with
a dream.
him. Play as him. It's a dream. His daughter Bella seems to be following in her dad's footsteps, interested in stage and musical too, and has been auditioning for roles and performing in musicals. Mcdermott performed on June 17th for a Father's Day charity concert at the Theatre Royal, Windsor. He sang 2 songs to raise money for the Progressive Supranuclear Palsy Association, or PSPA.
Gosh, it's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. Don't say
what
that.
What did you call me?
Yeah. What? A rare neurological condition caused by premature loss of nerve cells in the brain. Goodness me, it's lucky I haven't been drinking. Symptoms are similar to Parkinson's, Alzheimer's and strokes. Now, we've shared the link if you wish to donate to this cause, or you can visit pspassociation.org.uk for more details. As always, there will be links to the featured actor's Twitter account on the show notes. Also on our Twitter, which is at Eastenders Week. And also have the link to that website that I mentioned too. And that was what Neil...
Can I just say, I saw that Laurie Brett, who plays Jane Bill,
yes,
she's after singing again. She hasn't sung for 15 years. And she wanted to know if there's any singing tutors in North London. And he replied, no, Mcdermott said, oh, you can use my singing teacher.
Oh, I thought he was going to say he could use me.
Oh, no, he's not teaching. But yeah, so they're sharing.
So that's what Jane's doing at the moment, is it?
Yeah, she says she's doing something new. Because Tamsin Althwaite said, are you coming back to the soap? And Jane said, I'm going to try something new first.
She's had a year off, hasn't she?
Yes.
I think that's done her a world of good.
So yeah, exciting for everyone.
I
What
love
they're all
Tamsin.
doing now.
Yes, I love Tamsin Althwaite's
Her Twitter's, yeah.
fantastic. Honestly, we might add that link.
It's very
as well for you.
mumsy. It's so funny.
It's just amazing. Anyway, so that is what Neil Mcdermott was doing, or has been doing now.
Just do this now.
Right. I need 3 references. That's what Max's life is at the moment. He needs some personal references from a town or a square of people that hate him. What's he going to do?
Bar 2 people.
Now, we predicted a few of these references, didn't you? Quite a few weeks back.
Yes, well, because he's been looking for references. He's known he's had to get references for quite a while.
He left it to last minute, like doing homework, isn't it?
We've all done it. We've all.
I mean, it's
left
only
it to
a
the last minute.
baby.
I know.
Don't need to put that much effort into it.
It's only
do you?
baby Abby. For crying out loud.
Yeah.
Stupid little
Yeah.
poo monster.
So they have a meeting with a social worker again. There seems to be like a recurring theme with them at the moment. This is all that's happening.
Yes.
Another meeting, and he said, you don't have to have a reference, but it would really help because Cora's got all of hers lined up already.
Cora's got like 100 of them.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Cora. She's
And all her
reformed.
charity work with the homeless shelter.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
It's all looking good for Cora.
Court dates has been set up. We're ready to rock and roll.
We are. So Rainey sort of puts the pressure on and says, right, we need to get some references here.
We better start doing this
Yeah.
now.
Come on.
We've already got one. We've got Jack, your brother, but that's a family reference. I know.
Yes.
We'll talk about Jack in a minute, but yeah, that's a family reference. You need a couple from friends and family.
So his first port of call is Masood.
It is
for some reason.
Can I just say that I did love the fact that the social worker, whose name is Calvin, incidentally, thought that the Father's Day cards were from Max's children, and he didn't correct them, and they were actually from Jack's.
They're probably ones that Ingrid wrote up before she left, part of her 4 weeks' work. She better write them up for a few years to make sure they're done for Jack.
I mean, Ingrid's been forgotten, all but forgotten.
Yeah,
now.
no one cares.
Not even
She's
Keanu anymore, as we later discover.
No.
So yeah, Max goes, as you say, to Masood because they've remembered that they did save a child.
Yes.
Yeah.
You think they go to the aunt? Well, they go to the aunt, but they're out and Masood's there, isn't he? With sick on his top.
Yeah, so Masood always has to shoehorn a bit of comedy. So Max knocks on the door. He's got sick on his top. Max suggests, well, I can look after Harley for a little bit.
You change your shirt.
While you change your shirt.
How long does it take?
But then we do know, unless you're Sharon, where it simply takes a towel to just wipe off a gallon of cream, it takes everyone else about an hour to get changed from a shirt.
Yeah.
So Masood's like, oh yeah, all right then, that's a good idea. Let's do that. Not really knowing that if Max does you a favour, it's pretty much there's a reason behind it. So Masood comes back downstairs. Everything's quiet. The baby's been calmed without using grime music.
Yeah.
No Dizzy
Growing
Rascal
up.
playing. Yep, getting better. Masood says, "You're a natural." And you could tell Max quite flattered by that comment. And he looks at Masood and says, "I want to adopt baby Abby."
Really?
And Masood's like, on the strength of what? And Max is like, well, I just looked after your child. Yeah, for an hour. It's like me walking into a creche and saying, oh, can I have a job, please, looking after children? What experience do you have? Oh, I've got a niece and nephew. I took them around the park today. Can I have a job then?
Ridiculous.
Masood brings up some pretty decent points, and Max brings up that he helped Shabnam get Jade back, which was obviously the daughter she had with Dean Wicks. And Max says, well, he was doing the best for the baby. She's a very good mother, but you're not doing the best for the baby. You're trying to get redemption. And Max pulls out the family card. He's like, it's not about forgiveness. It's to give baby Abby the best start in life. Family isn't what's important, Masood. family.
Yuck.
I know. So yeah, you knew that was coming. I mean, nothing ever any story.
Masood was quite good in that scene, actually, in the kitchen. Like, for once.
Which is going to our point that if they stopped giving Masood
comedy,
inverted commas, storylines, silly storylines,
Yeah.
he's actually an excellent actor.
They've got Big Mo now. She can do the comedy, and let's let Masood do some decent acting.
Yeah, the worst. I think the world would collapse within itself if they actually teamed up Masood with Big Mo. I do to believe that a wormhole would open up and we'd all slowly get sucked in.
Yeah.
It'd be an awful day.
I mean, Max has some front, doesn't he? The people he's going to this week for bloody references.
Yeah, well, it's not just Masood. He then starts doing the rounds, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He asks, he gives Karen money, £200 to lie.
She doesn't quite know what she's saying yes to.
She doesn't know what to. But as he hands her over quite a nice little ring-bound laminated information pack. I mean, if the time Max put into making that information pack, could he not have made some ties with some friends and kind of actually had some references by people who wanted to give them to him? We must remind us that Mas had said yes, or he'd think about it.
He said, I'll think about it after they had a little chat.
Then when he spoke to Miriam about giving a reference, she got quite huppity about it. I was like, whoa, no.
Wouldn't
no.
you?
Well, no, quite right.
I'm quite huppity about it.
She goes round to Max and says that it's a very important decision that the social care have to make, and that if Masood was to lie, then surely that's not on your merit. It should be on the merit that you love baby Abby.
Yeah, and she says you don't have to have... She sort of says you don't need a reference, you just need to show that you're committed.
Which, again, is a good point, but then the social worker told him he needed a reference and he can't get that out of his head. So, as you say, he had some front by some of the people he was asking.
So Karen agrees and does a little bit of research with Bernie.
Within the information pack. Bernie's not so hot about... Mr. Murray. Bernie's got Mr. Murray on the mind. Murray on the mind. Murray on the mind was Bernie. And that just came from nowhere. And Max... basically is like, Karen, you're doing a good job, but that one, she needs to get her head around it.
Yeah.
Anyway, as time progresses and she realises that the placement is for a replacement for baby,
an actual child,
for a child to be looked after by Max. Karen says that she doesn't put kids at risk.
No, she's a good mum. We all know that.
£200 in her wallet, takes it out, gives it to him. And she's like, come on, to the pub.
I'm so happy that everyone's saying no at this point. I was just like, yes.
Yes, I know. Is this it? Is he not going to be able to do it?
No, he's really running out of straws next, because next is Carmel.
Yeah. Well,
he's just lost a child.
Doesn't like him very much.
No, he's cheated on her. In front of her, when they were together, when she thought he was going to propose, he kissed Fee right in front of her.
Oh, yes, in the kitchen.
Like all those horrible... No, it was in the Vic. It was in front of everyone.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
And it was like, why have you gone to her for this reference? It's like so horrible.
I mean, you humiliated Carmel.
Yeah.
She doesn't need any more...
And made her lose her job by stealing those files.
Yes, lose her job. She's lost her son now. She's on a crusade to stop knife crime.
And she says no, didn't she? Thank God.
But again, she
won't lie.
She won't lie. And right? Gonna have to edit that out. She says that, to be honest, she doesn't really think that... she says, you be honest, Max. Do you really think the child's going to be better off with you? And he's had too many second chances, too many mistakes. And you can kind of see Max starts to weaken now. That he's kind of... His arm is kind of getting more and more battered and bruised. And it's getting... like, he's beginning to run out of hope and that anyone's actually going to help him. So Max cancels the meeting with the social worker after Rainey had put so much effort into cleaning carrots.
I know.
She was making a cake.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got the skills. She's a proper little housewife, isn't she? I mean, any husband would be proud of her.
Yeah. So you had a scene of both of them in the cafe with other characters in the cafe, so you know something's happening. Denise is there, Donna's there.
Yep, and Rainey says to Max that, you must be able to get a reference. You almost brought the whole square down. If you can do that, then you must be able to get a reference.
Surely that's an indication you can't get a reference in the square.
It's a bit awkward, isn't it? Denise and Donna are mumbling to themselves as they come walking in. Martin gives him the death stare. Stares at him as he walks through. Stacey's the only one who's kind of being a little bit kind to him.
I was really enjoying Stacey this week until that.
Yeah.
There she goes.
I mean, Stacey was on fire on Friday, though.
She was.
Yeah.
So Rainey wants a little fight. She says, "Shall we just give her a little fight?"
Yeah,
with Donna.
Yeah.
Shuts her down.
Well, she says, if you're going to... Rainey says that Max has lost his daughter too. When's he meant to stop grieving about it? And Donna and Dee are kind of like, okay, whatever. But
It's his fault.
But it was ultimately his fault. But she spots Stacey in the corner, and she says, "If anyone's going to give you a reference, it's going to be her."
Yeah, the one smiling at you.
yeah, the one giving you love eyes still, tilting her head and going, "Oh."
So Max tries to do the good thing and thinks, "I'll ask Martin first."
Yeah.
That even though I had an affair with her recently,
Yeah.
she could be a good reference.
And Martin was there in the Queen Vic, drinking from his tankard.
Max come over with 2 pints, but in
Yes.
glasses.
So instantly Martin's
Instantly, Martin's
angry.
like, you don't know me.
Yeah, you know nothing about me.
Yeah.
It better still would have been, at the very least, putting it into Cush's tankard. It'd be like we were kissing.
And he sort of says, I'm going to ask you first. Would you mind if I asked Stacey? And Martin's basically like, well, I can't tell you what to do, but do you not think you've messed her around enough?
By
Which is
existing,
true.
by
Yeah.
existing, you cause trouble.
So don't even go there, Max. That's what I was thinking. I was like, please.
It was a bit odd. I thought he was asking Martin. I mean,
he's trying to be a respectful man, isn't he?
Yeah, but
he's on his road to redemption. Sadly,
I mean, it kind of
doesn't wash with me.
It doesn't wash with any of them. I don't think.
No.
Like a lot of them can still see through him.
So he does go to E20 because Stacey's cleaning, and he does go there to talk to her, but he kind of changes his mind halfway through talking to her, I think, doesn't he, Max?
Yes. Well, he accepts that Stacey's help would be good, but he doesn't want to. In the back of his mind, he thinks it's going to break up the family unit. It's all about family, and Stacey brings it up. It's like, we're back together. Just ignore Donna. We're a family again. It's fine. And so Max lies and says, "Oh, it doesn't matter anyway. We're in pole position. It's as good as
got
got."
Loads of references.
Yeah, loads of references. Loads of people want us. And the social worker says, "We've pretty much got baby Abby in the."
And he sort of says to Rainey, we'll just do it without it. Don't worry.
He says that Stacey wouldn't give her a reference, give him a reference, or give them a reference. So so no referees for Max or Rainey.
No.
So desperate times have come. So they've made the call to the social worker just to say that we've got one reference. Can you come over? We better get the references typed up, ready to present in court. Meanwhile, Rainey goes to the Slater household speaks and wants to speak to Stacey.
In the middle of quite a fight.
Yes, about a story we'll be discussing after this. She asks, why aren't you giving him a reference? Stacey doesn't really understand what she's talking about because as far as she's concerned, Max hasn't asked her for a reference. So as she goes, hot-headed Stacey goes storming down the square,
down the market,
down Bridge Street. Martin's like, "All right, Stacey, fancy some plums?" And Stacey's like, "No, I'm too busy. I need to speak to Max." And Martin kind of gives a sheepish look, and she's like, "Oh, right. You tell me what's been going on, or it won't be those plums that you'll be."
Yeah,
another reference.
3 of those references this week.
Yeah, Crown
boys
Jewels
losing their plums.
Crown Jewels was mentioned as well, wasn't it, by Linda to Mick?
Yeah.
And Stacey, basically, Martin reveals it all and says that Max has spoken to him, and that he said I can't tell Stacey what to do, but he says to Stacey that it was basically because you had your own mind. This is the reason we're in this situation now. Stacey didn't like that very much.
I have my own independent thought.
Yeah, and Martin's like, yeah, well, that's what got you in trouble.
Yeah. Ooh.
You dirty stuff out.
I know. I thought she was going to hit him when he said that.
Yeah. I mean, do you think Martin is right to be a bit,
yes,
upset about this whole situation?
Yeah.
I mean, Martin
It was Christmas Eve.
It's always Christmas.
He was at a rubbish kids play and she was there with Max.
Oh, I remember that episode, the kids' nativity. Oh,
she
goodness.
went off had to take a migraine pill and she ended up sleeping with Max.
Well, they were having lots of fights anyway by that point, and so she kind of just conceded and was like,
I have
then,
no
Max.
sympathy for Max.
No, because
No.
Max was hanging around the house at the time, wasn't he? Because that was just when he had the cut on his head and he just had the shower, and
It's just ridiculous.
it was a bit dumb, wasn't it?
So they sort of come to the arrangement that they are going to help Max.
Yes, both of them. So Martin, again, Angel Martin. He's a good guy, really, Martin, isn't he? I mean, you can say what you like about Martin, but at the end of the day, he's a nice guy.
So we have the social worker around, and he's sort of like, well, where are the rest of the references then?
Yes, and
I know.
Jack, again, brilliant. Am I not good enough? It's like, God's sake,
I
Jack,
know.
wind it in for 5 seconds.
And yeah, I mean, even Rainey said, he has the what does he say? She says he has the personality of 3 people, or
He's an ex-copper. Does that not count as 3 people?
and he's
It's like-
he's as hot-headed as 3 people, or something like that. She says, and it's
he's
like,
just a prat.
yeah,
He's just.
in his white jeans.
He's wearing a nice white top and white jeans.
Again,
He's
a
like,
new outfit for Jack. He's got the biggest wardrobe on
I know,
set.
but white jeans.
Mm.
Do you reckon Mel bought him those jeans
Or maybe.
just to, maybe she finds him hot in there in all white.
No.
I mean, earlier in the week when he was talking to Max, again, I don't know if any other viewers noticed it, listeners noticed it, I should say. But he had some jeans on, and the jeans were literally half of them were up his bum. Like
Well, Max's trousers were way up high.
Max's
weren't they?
trousers, they were
It's
going
like he
up
was
to
on
his
Strictly Come
nipples.
Dancing again.
I know, he was, and he kept doing those girliest poses, didn't he? He kept
Mm.
leaning over the countertop with one hip to the side.
Yeah.
I mean, Max.
So the social worker's waiting, and they're saying, "Oh, we have no more references." Knock on the door.
Yep, who could it be?
Yeah, lovely Stacey.
Yep, and
Martin.
who follows behind? A surprise, it was Martin as well.
Mm.
And Martin takes Max to the kitchen
He does.
just for a bit of a man-to-man. And he says, he's doing it for Abby. And he's not doing it for you. I'm doing it for Abby.
Yeah.
And just don't mess it up this time.
Mm.
And they give their statements to the social worker. And as they're leaving, Martin shakes hands with Max. He accepts, kind of an olive branch.
Mm.
I mean, I don't think their relationship is ever going to be solid. I don't think that Martin's going to go around Max's house next week and order pizza and play
No.
Need for Speed on the PlayStation
But
or
it's
FIFA.
on the mend. So
But
that
it's on the
means
mend.
that in a few months he's probably going to mess it up with Stacey.
Let's hope not.
No, let's hope not.
And Stacey's thanks Martin, which was quite sweet.
Mm.
Martin says, "I'm feeling quite lucky actually. I might get myself a lucky. I've built up so many.
Yeah, I
Nice
thought it was a
points.
weird line. She said, "Oh, get me one too."
Yeah, get me one too." So
The Slate's going to win the lottery again 2 times in
no,
2
they can't
years?
do that story
No.
again.
So, shall we have a little chat about the Slaters, what they've been up to?
Well, the Slaters have been dumped a present on their
They
doorstep.
have an envelope which says Slaters.
Slaters, and they have a big chat about it, don't they? They're talking about who is a Slater.
Well, that is the question.
It's a very deep
Mm,
psychological thought.
it is.
Who is the Slater?
There's only one Slater in that house.
Well, there's Stacey Fowler,
hmm
Kat Moon,
Mo Harris.
Jean Walters.
Yeah.
So Mo suggests they might not know what's going on. Maybe we're all still the Slaters.
Hayley Slater. She's still Slater.
Well, Hayley's right.
Soon to be a tailor, possibly.
Yes. ... So Hayley opens up the envelope and there's car keys inside. And Jean starts to panic. She doesn't like it.
Yeah, because she thinks it's like the key from before.
Oh,
But,
yes, she does. She talks
yeah.
about the lockup, doesn't
Yeah,
she?
it's like that all
mentions-
over again.
Yeah, she
Just not
mentions
as
back-
exciting.
I mean, there's been a few throwbacks this week, hasn't there, to
I
previous
know.
storylines, which was
Yeah.
maybe it's just to keep us in check in our minds. It's like, oh, there was a time when this soap was good, or a little bit better. I mean, the soap's never not been good.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, nostalgia kicks in.
Mm.
So Hayley opens it, and everyone's arguing what the keys are for. Hayley, in typical Hayley, goes storms off, goes outside, sees there's a black cab there, presses the button on the key ring, beep beep. There we go. That's what it is. Throws the keys on the table. Mystery solved. And Jean says it's a bit spooky. It's like Uncle Charlie's still here. And Hayley suggests, you know what we should do? We should go for a bit of a ride along. And it's
Yeah.
revealed that Hayley has a driving license.
Yes. And apparently took a course in mechanics.
Yes. So
Modern woman.
Stacey tells Jean you only live once. Jean replies exactly, which I thought was fantastic, because she doesn't want to get in the car because she
No.
thinks that perhaps Hayley's going to crash straight into a wall or something.
But it doesn't start.
No, but it doesn't start. So Hayley goes on the hunt for some tools.
Yes.
Finds some tools
Mitchell Motors.
at Mitchell Motors. Keanu mocks Hayley because, you know, Hayley's a woman.
Yeah.
What do women know about engines? Even Stacey says it's not a hairdo, it's an engine.
Yeah.
What do you know
Well.
as a woman?
Yeah, 'cause she says, I'm here looking for a job. And he says, okay, fix this motor then.
Yeah.
And she does.
She does. She does it in first go.
Don't even tie her hair back.
Does it? She
Don't
doesn't
even put gloves on.
No. Yeah, he wears blooming gloves. He's precious. His precious little hands. She's
well
like that.
away.
Give me a wrench. Done. Perfect. So Hayley's asked for a job, as you said, and Keanu suggests that she doesn't really want a job with Phil. He's bald, old, ugly, and scary. When Keanu does ask Phil for a job, Phil just replies, "All she's after is a bun in the oven and a council flat."
She already got that.
Yeah, a share house with the Slaters.
And a bun in the oven.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot about that. So Phil distracts Keanu because after Keanu's muck up with the accounts when Phil went away last month. He's now giving him saged courses or something like that into doing accounting the Mitchell way. Yeah. And while his back's turned, conveniently, all the tools are under this kind of blanket. On top of this blanket. Puts it in a round bag. Makes a little knapsack, puts it in a round bag, and waddles off back home. But before she goes straight home, she also picks up some overalls, some oil.
Yeah, she steals loads of stuff.
She steals loads of stuff.
Antifreeze. In summer.
I mean, there's no market, as we discovered a couple of weeks ago, there's no market stalls for cars, car parts and pieces. So she must have gone into town for that.
So she spends the day sort of fixing it up.
She does spend the day. Keanu visits before she starts fixing it up and says, do you want to be mates? And she's like, you don't want to be mates with me. And Keanu's like, man, you're the only person who listens to me when I talk about cars. Yeah. So poor old Ingrid, her ears must have gone red listening to him muttering on about cars every blooming day. So no wonder she left. Yeah. She's probably sick and tired of his cars. Right. That carburettor last night. Oh, still be quiet, Keanu. So she puts, or Jean rather, puts a bet on whether she's going to be able to fix up that car.
Because everyone's been mean to Hayley and saying she can't do it. But Jean's there.
I mean, this is a story basically that introduced Hayley as one of the Slaters. Like by the end of the week, she became one of them, didn't she? She
did.
Because as it progressed, the insults became lesser and lesser. I mean, on Monday, I heard Stacey say, "She's doing my head in. I don't know why we bother with her. She's doing my head in."
But it's one of those things because towards the end of the week when Keanu starts accusing her, they all instantly switch. Like they go from making fun of Hayley to being like, "Don't you make fun of what you do?"
Yeah, they stand up to her.
So she fixes the taxi and Jean wins her bet.
She does.
On top of the 5k.
And she says, "Just add it to what you owe me," which is fair enough. Hayley then tries to build a bridge with Keanu after he approached her to say, like, I got no evidence to say you've stolen the tools. All your family have just literally told me to go away unless you want a beating. I mean, what Mo says, like, rack off or something like that, wasn't it? It was like amazing. And Keanu's like, just leave me alone. I don't want to be your friend. He's so sweet, isn't he? He's like a schoolboy. I don't want to be your friend anymore. Yeah.
And he's like, if you would have just asked, I would have let you borrow them.
Yeah, I would have let you borrow them.
Little Keanu.
So back at the garage, when Phil basically says, I could have told you that she was going to... because Phil knows that she stole them as well, but he basically made Keanu pay.
Yeah, of his wage.
While he's giving this pep talk, the doors are closed because the doors are always closed when they need to be closed. Yeah. Not that the weather's any worse or better. It's just they have to be closed for Hayley to knock on the door, quickly dump the tools, and then again quickly fast walk. She doesn't jog; she fast walks. Yeah. She does that kind of fast walk when you go heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. I feel like that episode of Malcolm in the Middle.
So yeah, that's all happy now.
So now he's happy. So he looks on and he puts a little smile. So that is to be explored, I'm sure, soon. So then it comes up for discussion what they were going to do with the cab next. And Hayley, without them knowing, basically puts it on some kind of eBay website for a max bid of up to £10,000. But they all agree that this money should be to be paid off Jean.
Jean should decide.
And so Jean should decide whether she wants to sell it or not. And Jean's like, yeah, I do want to sell it. Actually, I want my money back. But of course, we couldn't let that happen because that means that Jean has to leave. And Jean can't leave.
Not yet.
No. She's got a very important storyline coming soon.
So they're sort of cleaning the taxi and they come across a photo.
They do. Some might say a photoshopped photo. I mean,
it's the first promo shot of the Slaters from way back when.
But instead of Gary being on the far left-hand side... Yeah. There's a really bad
It's like a photo of Mo in the living room, which we like cut out and put on the end.
I mean, who's to say that Charlie didn't Photoshop that photo? He might have. He might have been like, Gary, he cheated on one of my daughters.
Lynn.
Yeah. Wait, what happened to Lynn? It made me laugh.
That's one of the funny things because sort of Jean's looking at it and she says, little Mo's living by the sea. Kat and Zoe don't speak anymore. Who knows what Lynn's doing? But I found that interesting because normally, because a lot of people have been questioning whether they're going to bring some Slaters back, and obviously they would recast Lynn because the actress isn't an actress anymore.
No,
but they've shown a photo now, so that means they have no plans to recast Lynn or recast Zoe because they've shown a photo of them. Because when they recast people, they changed the photos. Because the Carters had that family photo of everyone.
Yes.
They took that down for like a few months because Johnny was being recast.
Right.
And then he came in. So they've shown him now. So that's a good few years before they can recast any of the Slaters.
I mean, yeah, they'd be foolish to bring a completely different face in next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi, Lynn.
So that goes where that theory. So the only one that can come back is Little Mo.
Which we'd like that to happen.
We would, and so would she.
Certainly would.
So yeah, so they get a bit nostalgic about the taxi.
She
don't
does,
they?
and they remember stories.
Mm.
I thought there was also a very interesting thing Jean said, going back to our extra episode that we did with the question, saying perhaps Jean is the mother of Hayley. Was that
some way? No, her husband.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So stepmom.
So yeah, going back to the episode, perhaps Jean's husband fathered Hayley, or was the father biologically to Hayley, because Jean said that she remembers first seeing Hayley as a baby in the cab. So I thought that's interesting.
Yeah, making her remember some things, that cab, isn't it? So
over a fish and chip or battered sausage for Jean, supper in the taxi cab, they reminisce of stories of their time they used to have and going to the cinema, and Jean was scared of a film and so had to come home early, and Charlie didn't charge her any extra for that, and it's decided that they're going to keep the cab, and perhaps they could make money using the cab. I mean, I think there'll be I don't know how they're going to do a storyline, perhaps for them trying to get a Hackney license, but it would be interesting to see how they shoehorn that one in. I mean, we haven't talked about Twitter for Max or the Slaters. Is there anything that you'd like to bring up quickly about?
Yeah, I can go through. What Max said is Stacey banging on about Max being a good father. Low. Was he a good father when he was bonking her on the 24th of the... no, I thought they were going to put the date then. Bonking her 24/7 instead of being home with his wife and kids. I do feel a little sorry for Max, but he has caused it all himself. Why is no one acknowledging the fact Max killed Stephen, even though, like, half the square found out?
Well, this is something we talked
point.
about on Twitter. No one seems to care that he killed Stephen.
Max asking Kamau to help him get his granddaughter Abby. She hasn't long lost her own son. He's got a nerve. And then the Slaters, we got sassy Stacey was out in force tonight, loving all the Slater scenes, especially the bickering between Hayley and Tiffany, which was hilarious.
That was good. What was it that Stacey said? What did your
Yeah,
the door got knocked. Answer the door, and Tiffany's like, "What does last slave die of?" And Stacey was like, "Not answering the door." I thought that was fantastic.
And Mo said that Tiffany's got a big mouth, just like her auntie Pat.
Yes,
So they always mention past characters with Tiffany. It's really weird. It's like a thing that they do with her. Bugs me how unnecessarily mean all the Slaters are to Hayley, apart from Jean.
Yeah, but she's part of the family now.
I want Keanu and Hayley to get together badly. The storyline about her pregnancy will work really well with it and will make a little different from your average romance.
Oh, lovely. And
someone says Keanu needs to stay away from Hayley and all the Slater women. They will chew him up.
But they will.
They will.
They really will. He's not hardened enough for that. But then again, I smell a really interesting storyline with Hayley and Keanu.
Yeah, it'd be good. Sharon's on the back burner now. Sorry, Sharon.
No, I know that would have been funny, but no. More
Hayley and Keanu do fit quite well, actually.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think they do.
Karen will like her.
Karen would love her because she. Well, if you think about it, it's a carbon copy of Karen, isn't it? She's a woman who's done good.
Right. So, shall we have a quick game before we go on to the outro?
Oh yes, get ready for this. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Ian Beale has opened up a game emporium, and it's full of games.
Has he?
Yeah. Now, they're all loosely based on a popular TV show based on being right about a price. Ian reminds us that these are loosely based and any similarity is purely coincidental. Now, this week, Ian would like you to play from his emporium. Look, there's a Branning on the roof. Now, you have to guess the price of 3 items from the menu at McClunkey's.
Oh, dear.
A popular hangout for families, drunks and nonces. For every penny you are away, Abby Branning takes 1 step closer to the edge of the roof. If you exceed 25 steps after all 3 guesses, I'm afraid Abby's carked it and you've lost.
It's very dark. This is a pregnant 20-year-old. Can't it be Bradley?
Okay, all right. So, we'll change it to Bradley. Every time you get a penny elf, Bradley takes another step off the roof.
I can't go through Abby's death again.
I was going to say it's quite emotional, wasn't it? Now, to help you, because I'm nice that way, the prices are between £4 and £2.50. Okay? So that helps you out a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can only be off by, in total, 25 steps or 25p. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
So the first menu item is a meal deal number 2, which consists of 3 pieces of chicken, chips, and a can of soft drink. Now, how much do you think that is between £4 and £2.50?
£3.50. 99.
£3.99?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take £3.99 because I'll tell you now, if you said £3.50, the game would have been over. So £3.99.
I shouldn't doubt myself. That's
No,
what
you
I
shouldn't.
thought first, so I'm going to go with my first instinct for now.
£3.99?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say before we continue that you'll be hearing Bradley, who's started taking up yodeling lessons. So he likes to yodel while he walks along the edge of roofs. So here we go. Let's see how far he's going to go, shall we? Here we go. And off Bradley goes. And he's gone up. There you go. He's gone forward 1 step.
1p.
You were 1p off. The
Was
actual
it 49? No.
90, no, it's £4.
Oh, it's £4.
Yeah. £3.99. So you're 1 step. So you've still got 24. You've got a real big fail safe to go here.
How many questions?
3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I told you. It's very, very easy. Right, next up, Mick's favourite, or Stuart's favourite, 6 barbecue chicken wings. So again, how much do you think 6 barbecue chicken wings would be at McGlungley's?
6.
6. You get 6.
£2.
£2.50. £2.50. £2.50. Do you want to maybe go a little bit higher? I'm helping a little bit.
£2.75. I don't know. I have to see what he yodels.
Right, what are we going to say? £2.50 or £2.75?
75.
Okay, well, I tell you what, Bradley's quite comfortable where he sat because he doesn't want to move anymore. £2.75 is the exact cost.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh.
£2.75. So you've still got 24 steps to go before Bradley
last question.
meets his doom. So I'm not going to help you now this time. So here we go. So last one, quarter pounder with cheese and salad. Salad is unlimited, incidentally, as well. And so you can have cabbage, lettuce.
I'd rather have unlimited burgers.
But that
what is it? I can't remember now. Chicken burger.
No, it's a beef burger. A quarter pounder beef burger with cheese.
Quarter pounder is £3.25.
£3.25?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see. Bradley's up. He's ready to go and he's warming up his voice. Here we go. So let's see where Bradley's going. Oh, he's off. He started already. So, oh dear, he's going quite far near the roof now. He's going. Oh, he's halfway there now. He's looking a bit worried as well. He's going a bit blind. He doesn't know what's going on. Oh dear. I think he's gonna. Yes, unfortunately, yes. He's fallen off the roof of the Vic. Oh, Ben, you're meant to be saving Bradley, not making him yodel his way off the roof. The cost of a quarter pounder of cheese is £2.79.
Oh,
so you were way off.
Cheap.
Well, there we go. So
I lose.
Whether that comes back next week, we don't know. But that was Ian Beale's Game Emporium.
Rolls off the tongue.
There we go. The other titles, I should say, was Ian Beale's Price is Right, but I was a bit worried that we might get in trouble for.
Yeah, you need to make a pun.
Yeah. Well, Games Emporium.
A good pun. Right, so we've got poll of the week results.
Poll of the week, yes. So as always, we put on Twitter a poll of the week. This week we asked, Robbie has been thrown into a dumpster, cursed by Mo, and thrown up on top of a ladder, to name but a few embarrassing moments since his return.
What a comeback.
I know. I bet he's glad to be back. But what could he possibly do next? The 4 options were wet himself with excitement, have a dart thrown at his face. That one came to mind when I was watching Bottom, in case anyone wondered. Fall into water clothed, or smacked by Shirley. It was meant to be smacked around the chops by Shirley, but you're very limited by the number of words you're allowed to use. Course. So, what do you think? What do you think was the most popular answer of those 4?
Thrown into water.
Fully clothed. Yes, it was.
Oh,
the
was
most
it?
popular.
I'm
yeah.
good at that.
Yeah, I know. you are. Maybe you follow the crowd. You see, you're not strong and independent like Stacey. So fall into the water clothed is 31% of the vote. Then there's a joint second between smacked in the chops by Shirley and dart thrown at the face at 25%. None of you thought that he would wet himself with excitement.
No.
No, it was quite a low vote. I mean, it would be pretty disgusting, but then he did throw up on shoes, on Kim's shoes at the top of a ladder. So I suppose he can't really stoop much lower, but time will tell. Mm-hmm. So there'll be another poll of the week this week, but we're going to time it a little differently this time. You'll find the poll of the week at the end of Monday's episode. So when Monday's episode of EastEnders ends, the poll of the week
will be sad because there'll be a poll.
Exactly.
To cheer you up.
Even though the episode's ended, doesn't mean that the fun has ended. So you have a poll that you can have a quick vote of, and of course you can then listen to our podcast again if you so wish. It's up to you. Obviously, you can find us on Twitter at EastEnders Week. You can find us on Instagram at EastEnders Weekly. You can email us, contact@eastendersweekly.com. We've been receiving emails again.
And we just got one just now.
And as we were recording this, we've received another email. So again, if we have time at the end of an episode, we might answer a question, or it might be a case of us doing another special show, another extra. We seem to have gone quite nicely as well. So there we go. So obviously keep up to date with us on those mediums. Oh, and Facebook, of course, and YouTube. Just search for
plug.
Yeah, just search for us, EastEnders Weekly.
So you've also got a summer trailer to enjoy.
Yes, we retweeted it.
Things.
It's
so
really
lots to look forward to in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. It looks like it's going to be a good summer season. I mean, they haven't revealed too much. There's a few, I think, missteps that they're trying to make you think is happening but may not be happening. But again, perhaps we can talk. If you want to talk to us about it, just get in touch with us and we can have a quick chat with you. Because we always try to reply to your messages or your comments or your theories.
Yes, that's great. And I just wanted to say I'm a bit worried. I bought a flask from the shop just now, and there's looks like it's just full of dust and stuff.